We are live. Oh, good. My good thing my computer's not working very well, so everyone else can see it, but I can't. That's okay. Hopefully my chat works, because if it doesn't, I won't be able to see what's happening in the chat. So there we go. Finally, I can see what's happening. I gotta figure out what's going on with this computer. Me and technology don't seem to go well together. Or like that song from Paul Abdul, Opposites Attract. Is that what it is? Pulling out an 80s track. Thank you for joining me here on a Fatherhood Q&A. I'm Jason Kreidman with Dad University. And if you would like, please, if you want questions answered, just throw it into the chat. Love to hear your questions. I'll see if I can answer them. And then also, too, if you want to support the channel, you go to daduniversity.com/support. And there you can sign up for a membership, which gets you access to all of our courses, videos, discussion group, and more. Or you can just make a one-time donation. It's totally up to you. So, also, if you are joining us, just throw your name in the chat there and let me know where you're from. It's kind of cool to see people are from all over the place. And we get people from internationally, meaning non-US, and that's kind of cool. Because I'm looking in the analytics, it's always interesting to see where people come from. And the international, or I should say non-US viewers of this material is pretty high. I'd like to say it's in some aspects 20-30% is non-US, which is good. We're getting some Mama Home. Good to see you from Philadelphia. Mama Home's in there. So yeah, if you guys have questions, throw them in the chat. I think we had a couple questions from social that we were gonna ask. Maybe Luke can throw one to me, or that we were going to answer, sorry. And Luke can throw one to me, and we'll answer those questions, since everybody else knows exactly what it is that they are doing and don't have any questions. They just like to come sit here and watch me talk, which is appreciated. Or they don't like to ask questions and they just want to hear what other people ask. So Luke, do you got any for me?
I'm looking.
All right. Well, we can talk about what else is going on here in Dad University land. We just recorded a couple videos, launched one yesterday. There's a new video, and that one was for soon-to-be dads. We went over a couple of tips for soon-to-be dads and all the things that you'd want to know. And then we've got one launching, I think, tomorrow, and that one is more of how to help your partner during pregnancy. So we're going to come out with some tips again. Although we've done some topics like this, it seems to be a favorite. People keep asking for them. When we come on chats, people ask, what can I do? And what else is happening with me? So it's always a favorite. So we'll continue to do that. I like these little on-screen graphics. Thank you, Luke. So that's sometimes the problem with live, is that, we do have some questions, and we can certainly do that. But I always like to answer questions from people that have it. And sometimes we've got tons of questions coming in, and other times we don't. And when we don't, we just sit here and we smile and we pretend that this is normal. And sometimes it is. I could picture this as like, when you are, like, let's say you're a musician or something and you're playing at a gig and you are essentially giving it your all. You're just all in, playing hard, and there's not a big crowd. But, like, you still want to play hard. You're playing your music, you're doing your thing. And I think sometimes that's what it is, you're prepared, you're ready, you go, and then there's just, nobody asking questions. So, Mama Home, Is it okay to leave your screaming child on the floor in the mall while having a fit, or is there something a parent should do? Yeah, so there's a couple things. I think, the mall, let's say it's a crowded mall, and depending on the age of the child, sometimes the public places aren't the best places to teach lessons, especially if it's like the first time that you've taught a lesson. However, grocery stores, things like that, sometimes those are okay. Those in the gentle parenting community, and there's quite a lot that are on like TikTok, would absolutely disagree, and I understand that. What a screaming child is a child that doesn't know how to express their emotions, right? And so I would be more inclined, and I think in the past, I would have been more inclined to leave the child there to teach them the lesson that doesn't work. I don't know if I would do that in a crowded mall. I might do it at my house. I might do it at the grocery store in a small place, or a small retail store or something like that. But like in a busy location, I might not do that. But what I would do is approach the child very gently. And likely this is not a one-time incident. Children, those kinds of things will happen over and over and over and over again. So the way that I would probably handle it now knowing what I know, is I would approach the child very gently, and I would say, we're not going to do this, and we're going to leave. And then because what's happening is a child doesn't, and depending on the age of the child doesn't understand what it is that you're doing, and especially if they're really young. I mean, they're just thinking like mom's leaving me or dad's leaving me, and I'm screaming and going crazy here, and they're just leaving me. They might not immediately, especially the first time, really put together that doesn't work. That's what you're trying to get at. You're trying to get at the fact that like this child is screaming and crying, and that's not going to work with me. So the way that you can also accomplish that is by still you remaining calm. And so instead of the child then getting what they want, or whatever an outcome it is that the child desires, you are still in control, but you're calm. You're not giving the child that sort of intense engagement that they want. And so I might be very gentle with the child. I'm not going to let that child screaming and crying and everything else bother me. And I'm going to say, hey, come on, let's go. We're going to leave. And you grab the child and you leave. So I think in general, it's funny. I mentioned the gentle parenting. I when I was learning a lot of my parenting techniques, gentle parenting was sort of coming about, years ago. And as it's evolved, there are parts of it that I really do appreciate. So I think it can be a combination of those things where you are very loving with the child. That's not working. You certainly, ignoring the child can sometimes work, but it's ignoring the child and understanding and letting them know that you're ignoring the behavior, not them. You're saying, listen, I understand you're upset, but while you are screaming, that's not an opportunity for us to have a conversation, if the child could talk, or that's an opportunity to fix this. So it's interesting. Because some of my philosophies have changed, or evolved, I should say. I don't like the word change. Hopefully that helps. Brian asks, what's your advice on the best way to manage your time and feeding so that you can get in a decent workout with a newborn? Get up earlier or stay up later. That's what happened with myself and my wife. Also, we switched off times, and working out and exercising was really important to both of us. So what we would do is we would just time it in a way in which, if the child is up, she takes the child here and then I go exercise, or vice versa. And so I don't think there's an exact science to it other than the fact that you just have to coordinate that with your partner and let them know that, maybe that's a real big priority for you, is to get your workout in. And if that is the case, you can sort of do the same for your spouse, regardless, maybe even if she doesn't work out. It's, I'll take the child during this time and you have that time to do whatever it is that you want. And you're sort of giving each other that break, which is very important in having a newborn. So I don't know if there's a specific time thing or there's a technique. I wouldn't say just stick the kid in front of the TV, but I think you have to time it. You have to time it so that you can work out. And if the child's sleeping, you could do that. If the child, if you're able to work out at home and the child can be right there watching you, and the child is sort of able to handle that and not get all crazy and restless, you could do that too. Eventually, as our children got a little bit older, they wanted to work out with us, and even as little, we have video of my son still in diapers, doing trying to do a pull-up, literally pulling himself up on a chin-up bar. And that's simply just because they were watching us. My wife and I worked out all the time, and my children did the same. And now they're teens who want to work out and are working out. So that's how that works. Let's see. I got a question here from social. Let's see. Yeah, so, this one came from Instagram. My child is being bullied. What should I do? I think this also depends on the age of the child. But when your child is being bullied, there's a couple things. The first line is to teach your children that people who are mean have something going on with them. That's sort of like one of the things that, I think is just an overlying, teaching thing or, education that we teach our children, is that, listen, when somebody's mean, it means something's going on with them. It's not your, especially if there's nothing provoked or there's nothing, that's being done. It's just somebody being mean. They have something going on with them. That's first. The second then is kind of, depends on the age appropriateness of the bully and what is actually being done, and if there's some sort of physical problem and the child doesn't feel comfortable talking to the other child and sticking up for themselves, then I think in those situations, if it's at school, then, sometimes a teacher needs to be notified or, some sort of administrator. Depending on the age as well, that's something that the child should learn to speak up for themselves. It's very, very hard often for children, to speak up for themselves and to do that. But I think it's really, really important for them to find a voice. And what happens is you often get, the parents are the ones doing all of that for them. And so for many kids, they will be very scared. They don't know what to do, and certainly in that case, you have to support your child. And, maybe you have a conversation with the teacher and saying, hey, can you just watch out for this? Or, can you look out for that? But, I think it depends on what the bullying is being done. A lot of the ways to often, combat bullying are to really worry about yourself. You're not necessarily going to fix the bully. You're not going to necessarily always convince them that they're wrong. And so a lot of that is, instilling confidence in your own child. Our children got enrolled in martial arts just to feel confident and sort of have that internal wherewithal to be, to understand their own body and their own confidence. But then, if it gets to a certain point and somebody is not solving it, then I think you have to either allow, if the child is, after numerous discussions and such, is not willing to do something themselves, then that answer has to be well, how severe is it? can the child handle themselves as a result of this, or is there some danger? And just, you need to determine whether you want to step in or not. It's hard because a lot of these questions are so dependent on the age of the child, what exactly is happening, things that you have tried before, the temperament of the child, the willingness of the child to do certain things. So there's kind of a lot of caveats. There's typically not like a really quick answer for that. If you guys have any questions though, throw them in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. And also let me know where you're calling from, or where you're coming in from. And then also, if you want to support the channel, go to daduniversity.com/support, and you can become a member. Do that. Get access to classes, videos, chat. We got a car alarm in the background. I don't know if that can be heard, but that's kind of interesting. And then also support the channel, and you can do that through a donation. So Mama Home had a good point. When I was young and bullied, I made it clear that it didn't bother me, and the bully eventually got bored with me. Yeah, I mean that can happen. Sometimes I have also seen it backfire or like get worse as a result of like sort of ignoring it. I know that I've seen that firsthand where the child sort of pretends like it's not that big of a deal, and then it gets worse. So I think that's, that can go both ways, but I agree. One of the things is just to ignore it if sticking up and making a point of it isn't possible. And, sometimes that can't be. Hey, voiceover guy, good to see you. Oh, yeah, we had a chat. Glad to see that that's working. Cool. I hope things are going well. If you guys got questions, throw them in the chat. Let's see. I got another one here. How can I get my baby to sleep? That's a good one too. So there are many different methods of sleep training. The one that seemed to work the best for us was very, very difficult. And that was sort of allowing the child to, soothe themselves. And, that started with this idea of allowing them to cry it out. And we couldn't take that. It was very difficult for us to do. My child would cry and cry and cry. And so eventually we would go in and soothe, and we would go in and do that. And eventually it was, kind of removing a lot of the distractions that, the windmills and the sound and the, activities and all that. We were sort of removing that stuff. And then also doing a routine really helped. And so what it was is we made sleep this very, very positive thing versus it being like, hey, you're getting left out, and as the child, babies want to sleep for the most part. But it's also understanding what helped them. So for us, this is not medical advice. This is just what worked for us. We had routine. So we did bath time, pajamas, brush teeth, read book, and feed. That was like a routine that we did. And as a result of that, it was kind of became this thing that like after you read and after you fed, then you went down and went to sleep. And so it just became part of a routine that we did, and we did that. And there were some times where, especially my son would cry, and, we sort of allowed him to cry for a bit, and then, depends on how long we could tolerate it, and just, and then sometimes he would just go to sleep. And then if he wasn't, we would soothe and just say, hey, everything's okay. We're here. We're right outside. We would do that. I would say with my daughter, it was very interesting. It was different in that, she was in the bed with us for a while. And so we co-slept, because my wife was breastfeeding her. And so these would be better answers probably for my wife, because she handled a lot of the evening duties and getting them to sleep. Now, we would change off, bathe, feed, go to sleep, but in the middle of the night and such, a lot of it was on her, and she took that on. Thank goodness. I really, really appreciated that, because for most of the time in the beginning, especially, I was working, and she had a more flexible schedule even when she did start working. So it became something that, we agreed to do that. Let's see. Thank you guys for hanging in here on the chat. Any other questions that people have? Anything about fatherhood?
Play a game?
Oh, do we have a game? Do we have a game? I think we have a game. Let's see if we...
A little 1-minute game.
Oh, we've got a game. Okay, let's see what we can do here. Luke will put the game on. You guys can play along.
I hope this works.
Well, we're going to hope it works. We've got technology.
Here we go.
We're testing. Let's see if this works. Poop called meconium doesn't stink. That one I remember. I was like, whoa, they don't stink. Babies turn their heads to the right more than the left. Although, what I'm seeing on here is probably not in the same timing, huh?
No, not as me.
But I'm seeing what's on the screen. So that's, okay, that doesn't work then. So that's going to be confusing for people. Because there's a delay. So what they see on the screen, I will have to figure that one out. Maybe I'll have to see your monitor.
That's why I was trying to give you this.
Yeah, because, well, no, I mean, that's the monitor to your, okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna take a question or two more. Voiceover guy, looks like it got cut off. Maybe your question got cut off. Oh. What are your thoughts on how much sleep a 6-year-old needs? I actually did a video. You can look through it in the channel on sleep. And the recommended it's like the sleep associations. There's various sleep associations and what their recommended sleep was. I am not positive, but I believe a 6-year-old was around 12 to 13, maybe 12 to 14 hours. But I have a chart that's in that video. It was done a while ago. That it's really, really important for them to get that sleep. So what you need to do, you can look at that video, go into the chart. It's all done by age, or you look at the video. And just work backwards and know that if your child needs to get up at 7 in the morning or 6 in the morning for school, they have to go to sleep by a certain time. I mean, that's the sleep that they need. I think partly too is this idea that sleep is important, and that's passing that on to our children. And also they get that from watching you. My children see that I go to sleep. Like, I get home, I do what I need to do, and I often will go to sleep earlier so they can see that I value sleep. Sorry. I know that might not translate to them at all times, but, when they're tired, they go to sleep. And, kids love to stay up. They love, especially when they're not supposed to and do things. But, yeah, typically kids need a lot more sleep than they're getting. Usually it's a lot healthier for them to get more sleep. It's just, yeah, so she does get to sleep until 8:30, but insists on waking me at 5:45. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm trying to do the math on that one. 4 hours, 9. That doesn't sound like enough sleep, but because that's only 3.5, 9. No, I would say that you probably she would need a little bit of more sleep than that. And so how do you do that? Well, you go to sleep earlier, or you stay up, you stay in bed. We used to have, especially when our children were younger, it was more a little bit maybe toddler age and such, where we would have we had a clock, or we had this little thing where when the hand hits the certain number, that's when they can come out of their room. And so that they were sort of learning that the quiet time was important. And so whether that was, hey, you're in bed, whatever it is. Our children went to bed very, very early when they were young. We were doing 6:30, 7 o'clock. Even as they were into toddler age, we were still early because they were getting up early too. And so, yeah, sleep's important. And it's important for you too. And obviously if your child's waking you up, that doesn't help. So I do think it is important. So thank you for that question. Let's see. Anything else? You guys got questions? Throw them in the chat. For those just joining us, you can always go for supporting the channel, daduniversity.com/support, which we have shown in the top of the screen. And you can become a member, get access to all of our classes, to our videos, and also the discussion group. And then also you can just do a one-time support too. We just had donations last time. It was really nice. People come and just give a donation. That's really nice. We appreciate that too. Cameras, microphones, time, all of the stuff to make this happen. I don't think people realize it. I don't think I realized it. The amount of time. When I see creators, people that are doing videos online, and they're doing it on a regular basis, and they're doing actually, good videos. Even bad videos takes a lot of time, but good videos, the editing that goes into this, all of it, it is a lot of time and work, and it's a lot of effort. And yeah, and so these, the memberships help, the donations help. This was what keeps us going. This really is what allows us to do what it is that we're doing, and it's greatly appreciated. Voiceover guy, oh, well, thank you, saying, yeah, we did a one-on-one coaching. I hadn't done a lot of that, but for certain situations, I do, and so we did a one-on-one coaching, and yeah, I'm glad that went well. So, guys, we'll probably, I think we're going to do this again next week, next Tuesday. If you want to join us, same time. We're going to do 3 p.m. Pacific time, I think. Right? We're keeping the same time?
Yeah.
And, yeah, if you have questions that come up after that, just shoot them in either the chat or the comments. And,
There you go.
well, Matt, now you're asking right as I'm about to leave, but I'll answer that question. Just became a first-time dad 9 weeks ago. How do we cope with the lack of sleep? Well, I will say that you have to take care of yourself. In other words, eating good is important. Is there a secret to coping with the lack of sleep? You got to be careful with how much caffeine intake you have, but you've got to, I think too, some people don't agree with this, but I don't think that both parents, if there's a mom and dad, I don't know that both of them should be completely sleep deprived every day. And this was something that my mother said, and I was glad that my wife agreed to it, is that we would trade days, And so in the middle of the night, when you need to get up, especially if you're, if you're bottle feeding or you can supplement, if your, partner is breastfeeding and you can supplement one of those feedings with a bottle and you're able to do it, then you take Tuesday night, and then she does Wednesday night, and then you do Thursday. Like at least you have then the opportunity. I just don't agree with both people getting up, doing this, helping with that. You're both zombies then. And to me, the sleep is more important than the helping of the other one. That's my opinion. Somebody might think differently. But if you are really struggling with the sleep, it means you need more sleep and you want to be functional. You want your partner to be functional. And so, a perfect example too is like my wife would be up all the time, a lot of times during the week because I would get up early and I had to work. And so then on weekends, I got up early and she would sleep in, or we would agree to something and say, okay, hey, listen, on Sunday, I'm going to take the kids quiet, go and do something, and, you sleep in. So it's really just important to communicate that with your partner and try to figure out a schedule in which you can, make it work. Billions of people have made it work. The idea too is sleep training or whatever you want to call it, your child, so that, the lack of sleep doesn't go on forever, and there's sleep experts. I'm not a sleep expert, or, a sleep expert in that way. There's books and there's videos and there's people nurses who specialize in that and such. But I would suggest doing that. Looking at ways to improve the sleep of the child, not only for their own sake, but also for yours. And you know what? When your child sleeps through the night for the first time, it's one of the most amazing feelings that you've ever had because you are so tired. And I remember my wife and I looking at each other and we were a little worried because we thought maybe something happened, we went in and we went and checked on him and he was still sleeping and we just could not believe it. It was like we were going to have a party, and this idea that we didn't have to get up, we got an extra couple of hours or whatever. It's like, yeah, the sleep deprivation is real, but you do survive, and you have to think about it too, that it's only temporary. While it feels like it is forever, it's not, my sleep deprivation now is because I choose to get up early. So it's not forever, but thank you. That was a good question. So with that, I want to say thank you to everybody for joining me here on the chat or joining me on the live. And again, if you can support the channel, appreciate that. Go to daduniversity.com/support. Become a member. You can choose whatever it is that you want to pay. You don't have to pay a lot. It just really, really helps. Even just having those members. If you're not subscribed to the channel, just subscribe to the channel. That helps us with YouTube. Or you can just make a donation and go to, we have one-time donation things that you can do there. But I think the best thing to do is to become a member, even if it's a small amount, because you get access to so much information. You get access to all of the videos in an organized manner based on subjects, all the fluff pulled out, very detailed based on ages, based on subject matters of exactly what it is that you might be needing. And then also the courses. And we have a dozen courses now. There's 12 different courses dealing with everything from communication to your relationship to finding work-life harmony to the myths about fatherhood. I mean, there's all kinds of courses that we've done. So,
Question.
Does warm milk help fall asleep and why? That is a great question. I don't know. We did not give our child warm milk. We gave, because my wife was breastfeeding most of the time. People say that is, maybe there's something about it, but yeah, I actually don't know the answer to that. Because here's what I said. I'm not a sleep expert in that way. I'm not, I don't even consider myself a child expert. And this is interesting because it's like, the Dad University and most of my content comes from my own experiences, almost all of it. And it is a lot more about me and being a dad than it is tending to the kids or doing something for the kids and such. So while some of that is mixed in there, and I think a lot of people expect that that's the case, they want me to talk about how to do this, the discipline, why is this way, this way. And some of that is, part of what we do. But a lot of what I do is, how do I handle myself? What is it that I can do for me? How do I conduct myself in these situations that are optimal for me and my family? And so it becomes more, I guess, of a father expert versus a child expert. And I say that just because I feel sometimes people really need these answers, and I don't want to give them an answer that is not true, or that I don't know, or that I don't have any experience with. So that's why. But I do thank everybody for joining us here. And we will be back same time next week, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Tuesday. So if you want to join us, you're welcome to. And of course, as always, thank you. And I appreciate everybody. And we'll see you next time. Take care, everybody.
When I found out we were going to have a baby, I was so excited. I was also full of anxiety and fear because I knew nothing about children or being a father. So I began learning. I took parenting classes, did research, got certifications, and most importantly, experienced mistakes that I learned from. And while there was a lot of information and communities for moms, there wasn't many resources for dads. And so I decided to take action and began building Dad University. Dad University is a one-of-a-kind educational platform for dads to help you achieve your full potential as a father. We help you go from overwhelmed and confused to calm and confident father with our courses, our videos, live broadcasts, support forum, and more. When you become a member, you get unlimited access to everything. The pricing for our monthly membership is pay what feels good. Education, the community, the tools that you will get here are priceless. But we also understand that everyone values them differently. And as such, we give you the choice of what you want to pay. How much is peace of mind worth to you? Click on Become a Member and get started today.